Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hi, we're Baka. Actually, we're an anime podcast where every 2 weeks we watch an anime, we discuss it in a book club style format, and then we turn our discussion over to our listeners, to you, our comment section, whatever you want to call it. You're the actual doing all the work here. We're just shooting out dumb ideas about an anime we watched, and then you tell us why we're wrong or right. Mostly wrong. And for this week, we are watching the first core of season 1 of Dead Mount Deathplay. So this is just the first 12 episodes, and actually during the recording, the second part is playing, so we're not going over to part 2 yet. We'll discuss if we're going to finish that in the future. But right now, first 12 episodes, Dead Mount Deathplay, that's what you need to know. To help me discuss it, I need the help of my co-host for help. The necro to my mancer, it's Jeremy with his hot take.
This anime is everything Overlord could have been.
Sizzling.
Try to interpret that.
And the sorcerer to my her, it's Jason.
My Hero Academia is a better shonen than Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh. So this week's hot takes are just blatant lies.
Do you really believe that?
I think Jujutsu Kaisen... Okay, so context. I think Jujutsu Kaisen is a better anime than My Hero Academia. But if we're going to be following shonen, like that box, I'm not sure you
mean
call
shonen
Jujutsu Kaisen
battler, right?
Like
shonen just means for teenagers.
But like longer running anime, usually in the context of like almost a soap opera.
Right. Like they came from shonen.
Jujutsu Kaisen. Right, but Jujutsu Kaisen is like talking? No, I got punching to do. And that's actually one of my only big complaints with the anime, not to get too much into it because we're in an intro. There's not a lot of lore discussion. So anyway.
You shut your mouth. We're not ready for that yet.
Hey, you wanted my hot take. There it was.
There you go.
The bad intro is because I am phoning it in this week.
Again.
I was about to say this week.
I'm wearing sweats. I'm wearing a Father's Day shirt from 2 years ago. I didn't like the anime. I'm just here because I have to be contractually.
And that's his hot take.
My name is Troy. I do have a hot take though. Power levels is the worst mistake the Dragon Ball series ever made, and that includes the Dragon Ball Evolution movie.
Oh, is this just because of Goku v Superman?
It's inspired by that, but not like as a complaint. I think.
Okay.
I mean, literally, for those who watched Death Battle and they had Goku fight Superman again, their whole point was like, we're having fun smashing action figures together.
Yeah.
And I agree. And that's what's fun about stuff like Dragon Ball. Could this character beat this character? But when you have power levels, there's nothing fun to talk about. Well, he's 5,000. He's 3,000. It's not fun anymore.
That's the fun part.
That's not fun at all. That's my hot take.
It's like
my hot take.
Battles.
You can't.
Yeah, this isn't a place for discussion or debate. This is hot take.
Okay. Sizzling.
Thank you.
That's the best I can do.
I would have preferred like a spicy.
Spicy. Can you feel my gritted teeth as I say it?
All right. So those were our hot takes. All right. We're talking about Dead Mount Deathplay now. Non-spoiler reviews. Jason, this was your pick. Again, non-spoiler. He's going to tell you if he liked it and if he recommends it. Go ahead.
Non-spoiler.
Non-spoiler.
Non-spoiler. I'm having fun with it.
He dies in the end.
Yeah.
I messed it up.
He dies at the beginning.
Like,
oh dang.
Which anime did you watch? Maybe that's why you didn't like it. Spoiler alert. I had a lot of fun with this. I think the concepts are
no
cool.
spoiler alert. There's no spoilers yet. What are you doing?
We said it like 6 or 7
You
times.
literally can't say spoiler alert if we're not in the spoiler section. That's like the word you can't say on television. Come on.
I didn't give a spoiler. What are you talking about? I'm trying to give my review.
If this is your first time listening, go pick a different podcast episode, please. Don't judge us on this one.
I have no idea why we're talking past each other.
Sorry, Jason. It's your turn. You get the mic.
Yes. Thanks.
So, what did you think about the anime?
It was awful. Don't watch it. Joking. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it has some narrative issues. I also think it has some tonal issues, but I really like the concepts, and I really like the I'm always a fan of the reverse isekai of fantastical person comes to the real world, and how do they deal with it? How does the real world deal with it? So I think some of it they dealt with really well. I think some of it's a little off, and whether I want to be like, yeah, let's get the next one in as soon as possible will depend on our discussion tonight.
Jeremy, your thoughts?
No spoilers.
I will do my best. I'm really enjoying it. I kind of was not sure where it was going in the first few episodes as far as whether I'd like it or not. It certainly has some awkwardness to it at times, and I'm right there with you, Jason, where it's the tone doesn't always feel like it's being consistent. It sometimes kind of contradicts itself a little, or can be confusing about like what exactly is it that I'm trying to watch here. But overall, I'm really intrigued by where the story went. I'm enjoying most of the characters, and I want to watch the second core very much.
Spicy. Oh, wait. Wrong section.
I didn't enjoy it. Now, unlike some of my co-hosts, I don't have like an emotional, visceral hate for it, and I'm gonna bring it up for every episode for the next 5 years or anything. But
who's ever done that?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Sunny Boy was great. Anyway, I watched the first couple episodes and I'm like, I feels like something's wrong. Now, we've already determined in our pre-show that we do before we hit record that the English dub probably isn't going to hold up to the sub standards. So Jeremy watched the sub, me and Jason watched the English dub. And I kind of got that, but I've watched bad English dubs before, and I can kind of set that aside. And usually when I don't like something about an anime, I can focus in. Like when we talked about Pluto, it's like, hey, I feel like the pacing's off. Where they're going with the story, I like whatever, but I felt like the time they take to get there. I feel in Dead Mount Deathplay for these first 12 episodes, there's just some really bad writing. There's just like random decisions. They have side stories that are going off into porno territory. There is, and I do want to say I like the concept going in. And it's very much it's Overlord with a reverse Uno card, almost completely. And it also gave me feels of an anime called Durarara, which was about gangs in the inner city, where there was just a bunch of different characters, wild eccentric characters, all interacting and mixing, having their own storylines. But they had storylines and things happened to them, and you got answers and arcs that happened and themes that were explored. And in this, it's just like, hey, here's another random character. Oh, okay, but we still haven't talked about the 5 random characters you introduced. And I kept going through that with my notes. And my notes, when I get done with an episode, were missing a third of what I usually have. And I'd be like, well, they talked a lot, but did they talk about anything? So I also want to preface this when I'm giving the recap, which is my role here on the episode. Jeremy and Jason will probably jump in and fill some out. So don't let my recap influence your opinion of the anime because it's not fair. It's very much going to be from my point of view. Usually, because I like most things, it's not a problem. But I'm probably going to be a little dour in my recap here, and I just want to be. I want to be fair.
It might have something to do. Like you did bring up an interesting point. If themes is what you're looking for, that's very much Troy's bread and butter. And so if he's not really a fan of it and you like themes, you might not be that much of a fan of it either. So that's something to think about too.
All right. Thoughts on the opening and closing, guys?
They didn't hit me as good or bad, which I think is odd. They were very bland. I don't know. I think the opening was okay, but the outro I didn't want to watch again. So,
yeah, I agree. I did like the dancing shark. I got a kick out of his little animated legs every time, and I only watched it like 3 times, I think. I watched the first several episodes, like half the episodes, and then I went for multiple days without finished them up all at once. So I had to watch again because I was like, I don't even remember them. But yeah, that was probably the highlight for me of the outro and possibly the intro as well, was just the dancing shark legs.
One thing I like that they did, I agree with Jason about the songs. I couldn't hum them if my life depended on it. But it does one of those cool things where they update the OP and the ED as the episode goes on. So like the ED starts with just a shark, but later there's a pen who's going along with the shark.
See, I was wondering if I just didn't notice the pen the first time, because then I watched it the second time. I was like, did it change? Was that pen there?
Yeah, I'm also not 100% sure about the pencil, but I do know in the OP, blimps show up in the shot of the city in the last couple of episodes, and they weren't there at all. So it definitely updates. Yeah.
Okay, which that's really neat.
That's always cool when an anime does that, when the OP is reflecting current events of the episode. So I did like that. All right, we are about to head to our spoiler section. But first, the next anime is going to be, this is going to be fun, Synduality Noir.
Well done.
Jeremy's pick. Humankind has been driven underground, but now they're coming back, and they got mecha this time, and they're fighting something.
Yep. Definitely something that's being fought.
Yep.
Okay.
Time for just some brainless action. Let's do it.
That's what we will be discussing next. After that, just so everyone knows, especially because we do get recommendations once in a while, we're about to do our movie and our retro picks, where there's Jason and Jeremy get to pick whatever they want to watch, anything that they've missed or anything they want, like, this is from my childhood. You guys got to watch this. So that's coming up after this anime. So it'll be a while before we get back to current season anime. But just FYI. Looking at you, Zom 100.
I know.
Get done already. They said they're gonna finish at Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah, that was in the running. I was like, what am I gonna pick? That one's not out yet.
Yeah, I really want to see it, but they haven't finished yet. Oh. Well. Yep. All right. Hey, Jason. Oh no, he's talking to his kid. He's like, hey kid, how you doing, kid?
What's up, kid?
This episode is so bad.
What do you want from me?
I want you to tell everyone it's a spoiler warning since you're so good at it.
Wait, are we in spoiler section already?
We're about to be, if you'll just let the people know.
Oh, hey, so we're in spoiler. Wait, are we? Like right now?
Spoilers! It's just sweats and an old t-shirt. I haven't drank anything but this tea.
I don't believe you.
All right, this anime. We start with a really cool sequence in a fantasy world where this army of the church is battling against an evil necromancer giant skeleton monster, and they're getting decimated. But then the hero, the Calamity Wrecker, shows up. Crusher. Yep, that's his name. And they have this really cool magic battle where a zombie dragon summon skeleton Warriors. I would have gone with the Warriors before the dragon. That's just me. The giant evil.
You're so channeling Rick right now. You just need to like burp in between your words.
I'm not. Got this. I'm freestyling from my notes and going from memory from an episode I watched two weeks ago.
It's so nonchalant. I'm loving it. It's great.
No, I really like this part. This episode or this anime was recommended in Mother's Basement's like new season, but he only watches like the first episode and then recommends. And after watching this first episode, I was like, I get it. And then after watching the second episode, I was like, no, I don't.
You lied to me, Mother's Cupboard.
But yeah, really cool battle between powerful hero and necromancer. They have this final clash and the necromancer casts this big elaborate spell, and then we see a young man wake up in Japan, modern day Japan, with his throat slit, and he's like having a hard time talking. The anime plays it as a secret, but the description, if you have read it, you already know what's going on. The necromancer has been reverse isekai'd into a recently deceased body, and this is
in a moment ago.
right. Yeah, and this is our main character, who, for reference, I'll be calling just Corpse God because the body does have a name, but he also exists in the story. So this is Corpse God. Your guys' thoughts on Corpse God?
I'm kind of enthralled with his backstory, the world he comes from, and also like how he exists in the real world. I really love this idea of, I'm the final boss of my world I came from, but mainly because bad religion, bad.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting because there's a point where he is a court, like a royal sorcerer in some sort of royal court, and he went to strike it out as his own necromancer. So, and also it seemed that in some areas necromancy wasn't that bad, or like not looked down upon, like in traditional fantasy stories. So I'm actually pretty interested to see where the story goes from here. So yeah, I like this character.
I would like to remind the audience, the last time we had a necromancer with very similar abilities, Jason called him a worthless character who brought nothing to the story.
Oh, that was the little girl. Yes.
Oh,
I'm legendary.
She
hero is
wasn't-
dead.
she wasn't isekai, was she?
Okay.
That's the quality. That's the meaningful
difference.
difference.
Jeremy, what do you think of Corpse God?
Very different. I will not be ignored.
I really liked this character just because of his take on his longevity. I thought this was really interesting. My personal opinion, just from all the stories that I've read, and I've been swayed to be of the opinion that if you live a really, really long time, you have a bit of a time dilation in your perception of the things around you. And so your idea of value changes, and you may not care as much about things that you would if you had a shorter lifespan. So it was interesting to see a character that actually put as much emphasis and value on things that are short term, like the people that he's with, even though they're going to have shorter lifespans than him. And then have the anime actually try to justify it with an interesting line of reasoning. I don't know that I agree with it, but it still sparked a bit of thought that I haven't actually put towards this before. So it was kind of cool. And that was just that, if you do live that long, then things kind of blur a little bit. And why bother differentiating between a second and 100 years? Just live every day for that day. It doesn't seem like they're really trying to push it in a sort of nihilistic way, but more in a sort of actualization. Like you're capturing the moment, you're enjoying what you have available to enjoy. And so that was interesting. And that really related more to his affection for his friends, his desire to uphold ethics and things like that, even though those things may not matter in the span of his lifetime, but they matter right now. So uphold them. So that was kind of cool. I thought the character was interesting in that he had become the main boss, not because he wanted to, but out of really sort of justice or vengeance for horrible evils that were done to him. Like you said, Jason, bad religion, bad. And so seeing that was it made him very interesting as a character to me, just because I was like, oh, okay, so we have like another overlord or another devil as a part-timer, where you get an isekai or a reverse isekai where the character is just a bad guy and he's going to come in and he's going to carry on his bad schemes. I'm okay with it. It's interesting every now and then, but I like it when there's enough complexity with the character that they never wanted to be bad from the beginning. That to me was interesting, that they wound up being bad even though that wasn't their goal. And so for him that was kind of cool. There's definitely some cheese in there. There's a lot of cheese, but it was still, I don't know. I enjoyed his character. I'm not. There's a certain point later on where another character explains what his, like, I don't know if I would say vulnerability, but at least where he makes bad decisions, and it's like, oh, if you threaten his friends or in his family or his home or things he holds dear, then he loses control. And I was like, okay, that's another cheese right there. This is like, I'd see that in any shonen where it's like, my friends, I will fight for my friends. I would have liked something a little deeper there, but it was still good. Still all right.
He also then did not lose any control at all.
No, he didn't. He was very precise. He even talked about how precise he was.
Right. And didn't manage, like, he didn't hurt anybody.
I was thinking that what she was really talking about was his bad strategy. Like, he started making bad decisions. He was still in good control, but bad strategy.
Right. I guess you could say because now he's revealed himself to.
Yep.
Okay. I really like the concept. I talked about Overlord Reverse Uno card, and it's super true, almost to minute detail, where he was an undead who was waging war and was the bad guy. He came to this world, and he's actually super compassionate and has all this empathy, which is like the opposite of everything that was lost in Overlord. And he just wants peace, and unlike Overlord, who, like, I'm gonna start meddling in all these pies, this guy's like so passive, and that's my only real problem with him. Otherwise, as a character, I say all that as it's very cool. It's a really cool idea to flip Overlord on its head and then explore it. But he's so passive, and he's almost actively not participating in the plot of the story, to the point where he has to buy a radio and start hearing the news of the plot that's happening outside of the story. He has to get invited to go play. He's like, I'm gonna find the person who killed, not the actual killer, but like who's behind the killing of this body, and then does nothing about it. His goal is I want to live in peace, which is cool. And I was like, okay, but he's gonna like become this assassin to start getting money and join this assassin world and have to like become and they talked about a killer, right? So that's something that's allowed in this world. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cool. He's gonna fight different levels of assassins and build up his own team. And no, he's like, I'm just gonna become like a cheap fortune teller.
Cheap? He was making a ton of money.
He was making bank. A perfect personification of my issues with this anime is the building he lives in, which is described to us as the Yakuza torture building, where every single room is a square, gray, floor, ceiling, walls, all match. And every room you go into, it's exactly the same. And it's like, what is this building? There's nothing
what
different.
Was the purpose?
Every room is exactly the same, and the fact that the floor and the walls match is driving me crazy. Yeah, there's a structural building here, but it's so bland on the inside and just used for the basic functionality of we have building here. That to me is the core of everything that's wrong with the anime. We have main character, we have plucky sidekick, we have hacker, but they might as well just be all gray square villains. Let's talk about more characters. Actually, I should give you guys a chance to rebuttal and let Jason talk and not interrupt him because I need to quit doing that.
There was a lot there. So I don't want to like go point by point. I think the only one that I think I disagree with is the whole, we have hacker guy for hacking thing, and we have girl kick buttery for when butts need to be kicked.
Kick butt buttery. I like that.
Right. I think their characters are a bit deeper than that. Because they all seem to have their own backstories. They all seem to contribute in their own ways. So, I mean, you could reduce that down with any anime. But I can see where you're coming from.
Okay, well, let's get to those other characters, and then we.
Well, wait. I wanted my chance.
Well, I didn't say I'd stop interrupting you.
Oh, come on!
Rules for the
one step at a time, people. Go ahead.
He's on the program, interruption program. So the only one that I'll tackle is just the. Oh, you threw me off my game now.
Was it the room or was it the non-active participant in the plot?
Yes, that was it.
Okay,
it was it's the idea that he's not an active participant, and I agree with that. But at the same time, I kind of see it in the scheme of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And a lot of anime, they just ignore it or they barely touch it. He's got to survive first, right? He's got to get an income. He's got to have a roof over his head. And the anime could skip those things and just implicitly say that they're there. I kind of enjoy that it put them in as a part of its plot, that like he's doing the mundane, boring things, which aren't even that mundane because he's fortune telling and he's still getting to use his powers and stuff. And that's kind of interesting to see the little exchanges. Yeah. So I didn't mind that. Just to me, it didn't seem like it was blanding him up or anything. It just seemed like he would need to be dragged into it. I don't mind that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Absolutely right. All right, so he awakes in this world. He's starting to understand language as the brain that he now occupies and his soul start to combine. These police officers stop him. Like, why is there blood dripping down your throat? And this young, super bubbly, cute girl, but also with some goth and punk vibes going on, grabs him and like runs away from the cops with him. And she's like, "Hey, where are you going?" He's like, "Well, my brain is telling me I know this girl, so she must be a friend." And then she's like, "Hey, I'm actually the one who murdered you, and I have to finish the job." And she chases him away. We need to stop and talk about her. Do we want to do it now, or let's just do it now? What do you guys think? Misaki, whatever you want.
I don't even know.
I found her beginning, like when she's first introduced, and as far as like backstory, and like her outlook on what being an assassin has kind of turned her brain into, was a fascinating case study on like, or at least a thought experiment on like what happens to a person that they think they're only killing bad guys, but then what would be the difference between good guy, bad guy? I liked that thought experiment that they presented. I also, I thought she was a great companion to him moving forward. And also, I wish they would have done more with the zombie thing, because we'll get to that here in a minute, but I found her supernatural abilities very fascinating. I wish they would have leaned into that a little more.
Yeah, and I'm really wondering how much of that they're planning to do. Like if it is a little bit more of a slow burn in the second core, they'll bring it up, because she's talking about, oh man, I'm look at the vampire. The vampire's so cool. I want to be a vampire, right? And so yeah, I could totally see them doing something really cool with that in the second half. Yeah, I'm right there with you. She was really plucky. She was really funny, super energetic, very much an airhead, and an absolute psycho as well. Absolute psycho. And all of those are kind of up my alley as far as, at least one character should be like that. I'm going to enjoy that. So yeah, I enjoyed her for the most part.
Love the introduction of this character and her backstory. The whole, you look like you had so much fun murdering my parents. I want to see how fun it is murdering you. Like you said, really twisted mind of this character. And I feel one of the few characters who kind of has an arc, because she does go through this, like, I actually feel bad because once she got done killing the killers that she wanted to kill, she's like, maybe I'll just try killing a normal person. And she did it this one time and told herself that was fun, but then went to jump off a building and kill herself because that's the only thing left to kill, which told me that she clearly didn't really enjoy the killing of a normal person and now felt like she kind of became the monster. And we see her take some steps of looking for redemption or that she did feel bad about it.
Redemption.
I definitely feel we could have used some more time with her to explore that arc because it was interesting. And I do feel once her zombie powers are kind of established and she gets a bit of a showcase in the first couple episodes, they're pushing her into the background. They're like, you go sit in the corner, and when we need some skin and boobies, you will come back. And
I could see that.
I definitely feel they're underutilizing her. Especially because like we got Jiao Yu suddenly being introduced as like a fighter for the team and stuff. And I'm like, Misaki was working really good, and that 5-minute background was really cool. But let's keep digging into that. Let's have some more flashbacks with her. So not really. I don't want to complain about her as like I do with the others. I just feel underutilized. Super fun character, but just didn't get enough time. All right, so she chases him, stabs him in the leg. She's all super excited about how well he's surviving as she's trying to murder him, and chases him into a Yakuza torture room. And because of all the death and pain that has happened in this room, he's able to now use necromancy because he's talked about how there's not enough mana in the air to do magic, but suddenly, thanks to his necromancy powers, this room chock full of it. And he attacks her with his giant skeleton hand. His powers are like these big circles, and then things come out of the circles mostly. And it stabs her, and you're like, at this point, the anime is still trying to be like, okay, we've let you in on the fact that the bad guy is the one who is being reverse isekai, but we still want you to think he's bad. So he killed her immediately, like, oh, he got her. And then he's like, oh my god, are you dead? Do you not have like a healing potion? How weak are you people in this world? Because he was used to fighting super.
I actually really liked that scene where he's like, he impales her with this enormous. It's huge. I mean, just the arm takes up the entire room, and he's like, "Let us continue." And it's like, oh, she's dead.
And then later he's like, I said, let us continue to a corpse.
Yeah. I was a little worried we were about to go into Eminence of Shadow again, where he's worrying about how his phrasing wasn't cool enough. I'm like, no more of that.
Don't do this.
We've covered that. We do then get to see his past, and the highlights are that at one point he was taking care of these children, and then the church started hunting him down for being a necromancer, and ended up killing them for being associated with him, and that he became a villain in large to get revenge against this church. He waged his war against them. We also are told later that he had wanted to die in that the battle at the beginning. He had looked for someone to kill him so that he could use his resurrection spell. He seemed like he was very much looking for a do-over, reset kind of thing. Again, his goal is, I want to live in peace. Then the hacker takes the video of the drone that's been following him this whole time and sends it to the info broker. But we need to talk about the hacker. His name is Takemi. It's Takemi. Sorry,
Takemi
guys.
sounds like a food.
I am having a night, and I'm trying to make valid points about my opinions of this anime, and it does feel like I'm just wiping my feet on it. Takemi, your guys' thoughts on Takemi?
I like his story as well. He's another person that's kind of, because it's funny, you get a lot of these modern day anime where you've got these underground organizations that are like either doing bad stuff or they're trafficking or they're stealing, and he gets his own moment to kind of reflect like I'm the guy that told Misaki to go back and collect, because we need to collect the body in order to collect our money. Like he's going, I'm not, like, I know I'm not on the right side of the law, but that doesn't seem to bug me, but I'm not on the right side of morality. I do like the moral uh, crisis a lot of these characters end up having. Um, it's really interesting thought experiments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was okay. I kind of was a little annoyed with the character design because I was like, take your glasses off. Take your glasses off.
No, he's related to Jordy. No.
I know, basically. If they were a little more sleek, I think I'd be fine with it. But they're like first generation Google glasses or something. They're terrible. And but yeah, other than that, I don't have many complaints about him. He's definitely not among my favorite characters. I did find him a little bit bland. Um, but he was very useful, necessary to keep the information flowing. That's about all I could say for him.
Hacker guy is a hacker. Jason, I remember him making one comment about like, I can't really judge you, Corpse God, because I guess I'm helping bad guys. I'm tech support for bad people, so. And then I don't remember him ever like caring ever again that he was tech support for assassins. And his actual backstory they give us is, I once ratted out all my friends, and Corpse God's like, I'm cool with that. And he's like, all right, moving on. And that's as much of a personality as we get from him. And I would have really liked to have seen him like, maybe he rats out Corpse God, or he's faced with a conundrum where he has to work, and maybe that's coming. But I have to judge it on these 12 episodes. And I do feel like 12 episodes is a long enough time that you can develop your third main character of the team in time to not have me make this complaint. It felt really weird that it was like, I ratted out my friends. I think ratting out friends is cool. Okay, then we're all good.
I will have to say this anime does have a lot of characters that flow in and out and are almost throwaway characters.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Oh my god.
No, it's fine. I wasn't quite sure what my next thought was going to be, so go ahead.
I hear it in the editing to everyone who listens, like Choice Dirk. I know.
No, that's a conversation. A conversation flows. You go back and forth.
You're right. I had a point. Oh, it was about when we meet the older brother, right? And at one scene, he's like talking to his bodyguards, and they're clearly like character design. They're not background bodyguards.
Yeah, the big guy and the girl with the red and the blue.
And I got visibly upset at the anime. Like, no more characters. You haven't explored the characters you just gave me. Stop it.
Yep.
It just felt like every scene they're like, and this person's also important. No, they're not. Stop.
Well, and that's where I think like the fact that this particular character, this Takimi, is Takimi is kind of a little bit bland. It didn't bother me because I wasn't really that interested in him. I didn't need him to be interesting. I was more curious at the time about like, tell me about the world, tell me about the firebug. Give me more information on the main character. Give me more information on Lemmings. Like, who the heck is this guy? Like, there were a lot of other characters that I cared more about, and I was more interested in. And that may be more of the strong suit of this anime. Is it doesn't necessarily have that same formula that you're going to find in a lot of the other ones, where like you have your group, and your group is, those are the characters that you're supposed to care about the most. Seems like the group that you care about maybe is spread out more in this one. And the world. I really like the world, and that's my thing. So
Right. I would call that bad writing. If your main
Oh.
characters aren't interesting and you're like, yeah, but maybe over there's someone cool. I don't know.
Well,
He's wrapped in
what
bandages.
makes him
like,
a
who
main
knows?
character, though? I mean, he's there to
Screen
perform
time.
a function.
Screen time.
Well, he's just drawn because he's in the same room with them. That doesn't make that. I think that's not really useful screen time.
I
Like, I
agree.
guess he could be doing something in the back. He could be doing something in the background that's like, entertaining or catching your eye or something. But he didn't contribute to a lot of the conversation. So he was more of a set piece in many of those situations.
Agreeing at this point.
Yeah, but I guess where we don't agree is just that didn't bother me at all. Like I don't think that he wasn't the point. It's like if you're watching Transporter or if you're watching like any of the brainless action flicks,
Sure.
the characters don't all have to have a lot of depth. You can still get something really entertaining about it with just a few characters or characters that are spread out having that depth.
Right. Brainless
I think
action
he's
films
unnecessary.
known for their great writing.
Well, but that's the thing. Is like there's more to writing than just the characters. There's a lot.
Right. You're saying you can be entertaining in other ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't find it like even the action scenes are just so wham bam quick. There's no. To be fair, I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen. It's not.
Yeah.
Maybe my bar's been raised.
Not fair.
That is not
Because
fair.
I thought they were fine. I'm the only one of us here that has not been watching Jujutsu Kaisen. I think they were fine.
That's fair.
I will say I'm not walking away with the fights were so bad that I have a complaint about them. I just never I didn't care about them at all. They were just over and done with. I didn't even know how some of them ended. They just were over. Firebug and Misaki at one point. I was just like, oh, I guess that ended. Oh, and now we're starting. Okay, cool. But yeah, all right. We'll
I've
keep
seen
going.
that in a lot of anime where the battle ends inconclusively, like you don't know.
Sure.
And then
again,
picks up later.
Not one of my bullet points of complaints was battle.
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
writing is what I'm here to die on the hill of.
Okay.
Okay, so Takumi sent this to who's basically an information broker for Yakuza, but she owns this Yakuza building, so she's clearly Yakuza, but there's multiple Yakuza groups. Her name is Clarissa. And when she's not involved in the plot, she's in a hentai.
I know, yes, exactly.
I mean, I don't know why.
I don't either. There was a time.
Oh, go ahead.
There was a time when a young version of me might have been like, "Oh, this is a great addition to the anime." But this version of me, like this older, more mature version of me, is like, really, you could have said all of these things in a more like interesting, nuanced scenario than this. This seems so juvenile.
This is the biggest issue I have with this anime is that it's tonally weird. And what I mean by that is like one moment limbs are being chopped off and it's hyper violent, and then the next moment we've got chibi reactions, and then we've got super fan service, and then we're back to serious dialogue, and the whole world can't find out about this one special piece of information. It's all over the board as far as just the tone. Like, what do you want from me, anime?
Yeah. Now, I couldn't help but think about how a lot of crime movies have sex scenes in them where the bosses are, like I was thinking of even Wolf of Wall Street had it, right? So that's not necessarily unusual, but it serves to build a character in a way that is actually valuable in those shows. Like it starts to define their character, their personality, their traits, what you can expect from them, what they value. She's not that important of a character. We already know everything we need to know about her from the beginning. This is literally just an opportunity to exposit information to us that we need to know about behind the scenes questions and mysteries, couched in, like you're saying, couched in a hentai style setting. And so it's not really comparable to those other forms of storytelling where you do see similar things. So yeah, I really I don't like her that much as a character because of that. Like I don't think she contributed enough to the story to be this great information broker.
You see like crime bosses and they'll have two girls in the bed and you're like, oh, he's living a hedonistic lifestyle and he clearly doesn't care about them as he's like throws something on the bed and they get hit in the face or something. Or, they have a wife next to them, they're lovingly caressing them. And that lets you know, okay, they value this or they devalue this. This is how they look at human lives. This is just, hey, you clicked on the wrong website. You should have blocked pop-up ads.
It's a pop-up.
Randomly in the scene. And it doesn't really affect anything, and it happens again with another character. We all have that complaint, which we'll get to. But as far as her role in the story, maybe it's me writing notes and trying to look up and look down, trying to follow along. I barely understand what she's doing or how involved she is. Characters like, you're involved. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then she's like, maybe I am involved, and I own these killers and I connected with these people, and I don't know if she's a hero or a villain or if she even matters in the story. I'm very lost with her. A lot of the underworld stuff I feel is very cloudy, hard to grasp.
They didn't do a good job with it because they didn't spend a lot of time on it was the problem.
But there's characters I have major complaint coming up here. I'm gonna lose it.
These are the minor complaints.
These are minor complaints. There are two characters that I am very angry about. So I guess I do have some anger at this anime. There's two characters that I was just like, what is? We come forward.
Do you really want another long editing session? Is this what you're looking for?
You're right. Okay, so Clarissa and her team show up. This also is told weird because it's told through a flashback. We get like Misaki's flashback of how she ended up in this situation after we see her revive as a zombie, and then we see Clarissa show up and Corpse God being like, "Hey, don't point those weapons at me. Don't threaten me. I'll threaten you." And they're like, "Hey, how about we all be friends?" He's like, "Okay, we can be friends." Also, a Yakuza daycare is on fire. Just so you know, right now, randomly, a Yakuza daycare is on fire. So Corpse God's like, I would like to help with the Yakuza daycare on fire. So he magically bounces around the city and then sends, and it's the souls of the parents who are dead, because that's what the daycare was taking care of, orphan children. And he revives them as skeletons, and they carry the children out. This gets blasted onto the internet. Everyone saw a video of. So everyone's like, what's going on? Why are there skeletons in the city? And much like Durara, there's a bunch of, they're called troublemakers by the cops, but there's a bunch of colorful villains, mostly assassins, living in the city who are almost borderline supernatural, but are not supernatural. So the fact
they're so supernatural.
So the fact that these skeletons exist means everyone thinks like a new one has appeared on the scene. To give full context, Misaki wakes up and she's like, "Sweet, I'm a zombie. That's great." And Corpse God's like, "I just want a life of peace." And Clarissa's like, "I will help you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's about to join the assassin team." And apparently she's just like, "I'll let you live rent free in this building."
We needed all that set up for that.
All right. Yep. So Corpse God is living in his new dark gray square room home.
Hey, what do you expect for free rent?
He sleeps on the couch. No.
He got a couch for free rent?
He buys himself a radio too. There's a drone of Takumi's that wasn't working, and we find out it's actually the soul of the body that Corpse God is in, whose name is Poka. And he had put the soul into the drone. It eventually goes into a toy shark, which is a shark from a movie series about a demon-possessed shark or something like that.
Sharkboard.
It looks like a Frankenstein shark is what I kept.
Yeah.
Anyway, any thoughts on the real Poka? Because he becomes like, hey, I'm part of the team. I'm happy to be out of my body and in a shark body.
Oh no, I kind of can't stand him. He's this pushovers of pushover. He cares for all the small things. He's written as this goody two shoes. I am the goodest of the good boys, and there's just nothing interesting about him.
Yeah, I can agree with that. He feels like he's in the back pocket of the story right now. Like he's there. Maybe sometimes he acts as like a cheap moral compass, which isn't really necessary because most of the characters have a few of the characters have reasonable moral compasses. But occasionally he is used for that purpose. The rest of the time, it just kind of seems like he's not really, nothing interesting or useful is done with him. Maybe there's like a cheap joke where he's present during a shower scene, and the person who's showering doesn't know that he's, actually a person, thinks it's just a stuffed animal.
And it's
but
his niece.
But she's older than him.
Okay, I was gonna leave that out. That's fair. I was being mean.
And so I don't know. He feels very much like he's being held for something, and I don't know if the author knows what they're holding him for, or if they just want to have the character there. I see a lot of potential where they could have done something interesting, but maybe that's just coming off of The Legendary Hero is Dead, which was such a fantastic use of animation and having a dead hero that could come back and help like that. That's so cool. Oh, spoiler.
I'll say I like Legendary Hero more than this.
Ooh,
for sure.
They are different anime. What is wrong with you two?
Oh, necromancy. I mean, and dealing with borrowing a body. There's some.
One is a ecchi and one is a reverse isekai. Like
with hentai, which is awfully close to ecchi.
The funny thing is, like, at least Legendary was like, I'm gonna be this thing, and while it wasn't my taste, I could say that's not my taste, but if it is, that's fine. Where I watched
the
this,
whole
and
anime was a comedy that leaned into
like
that.
Gut punch, sucker punch.
Right. Okay. So my thoughts on Poka, and the reason that I think they're keeping him around is because this anime wants to keep Corpse God 100% morally good. Like they don't want you to even question that, and so. To the point, like, we're about to get to a scene where he crushes a bunch of bad guys into human knots. But they're fine, and they'll recover. And
not mentally.
He stole this guy's body, but the guy's totally cool with it and forgives everyone for murdering him and doesn't even really want it back. Would be happier with a robot.
I don't like that.
It really feels like that. It's like, no, Corpse God is super good. I know we tried to pretend he was evil. He's super good.
Which actually,
okay.
it's a whole, what is that, plot hole here, because and Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was established that the spirits don't move on until their regrets are fulfilled, and if Polka has no regrets, why is he around?
Well, there's a good chance that he's lying, maybe even to himself. But you're right. Maybe. That is the rule. The only thing I was going to comment on was the robot. Like, I totally get that. I totally get that. Like, oh, there's a robot body that could do really cool things like fly. Yeah, put me in that. I understand that part of it. Okay. Oh, that weak body is my alternative? No, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the next scene is them Misaki is hired to go get a group of bandits who are involved with the guy who hired her to kill Polka, right? And then she goes and ends up being an ambush. Even the guy who hired her is involved in this group, and she's fighting them. She's doing well, but then they shoot her. And then Corpse God shows up, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to come help. And he's like, actually, she can't die. She's a zombie. So she comes back up, and they kick butt, and then Corpse God uses a giant hand to crush them all into dirt.
Okay, you're skipping some things that make this actually work.
Okay.
I gotta jump in there.
That's fair. Absolutely fair. I warned that would happen, and I'm happy for you to jump in.
Okay. So, number one, when the guy comes in and he wants to hire Misaki, Corpse God comes down, and he's like kneeling down, and it makes it look like he's talking to the guy and saying, I accept your contract, when in reality, he's accepting the contract of these little baby ghosts that are attached to the guy. So Corpse God is there because he's got a different contract than Misaki's got with this guy. The whole time he was never there for that guy's contract, but he still had a really good reason for being there. This kind of starts us down the path of accepting that Corpse God is constantly talking to spirits. And so, you know, whenever he's making contracts or finding out secret things or observing things, you just start to implicitly know that, oh, he picked it up from the spirits. And we even see him pick up like other spirits that are having a really bad time. And he's like, I will save these children for you kind of thing. Right. So having him be there, like he didn't just show up out of the blue, which is kind of what it sounded like there. He had a good purpose.
I'd actually forgotten about the spirits, but I was trying to point out that he had agreed earlier to help. Just trying to go fast, but all that was absolutely true and fair. In fact, a lot of his motivations usually come from spirits asking him to do things rather than people.
Mm-hmm.
Crushes this group, but we find out that they're A-okay, kind of.
Kind of. They'll be okay in the future.
Okay, so I don't know what they said in the dub. In the sub, he said they'll never be able to hurt anyone again.
Right.
And he didn't tell you why. And then when you see, because you're wondering, like, okay, so they're alive, but they're encased in earth. How are they still alive? And how are you confident they're never going to hurt anyone again? When the thing breaks open and you see them and you see that their limbs are literally tied in knots, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's physical debilitation. You've basically turned them all into paraplegics. And then you find out later that, no, that wasn't it. That wasn't the only thing he did. He also lobotomized them. So, like, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily, you know, his hands are not dirty at all. Like, he's doing some pretty dark stuff.
Takumi does question him almost, I think, twice in the anime or the English dub, and he says they'll probably be able to recover.
No, he didn't say that in the sub. He did
Jason,
not.
did you hear that, or am I misremembering?
No. He does say that later on when it ends up on the news. But he does say right after this that that's what the spirits want, and they'll never be able to hurt anybody again. So
okay, well, so he comes back, and Takumi is like, earlier before the scene he had said, and he had said before, human lives are like nothing but toys to me. And then he comes back from this and he's like,
this is kind of cheese.
Toys are like the most precious things in the world because they give children happiness. And I audibly groaned out loud. I was like, oh, that's so bad.
Yeah. Okay, this was cheesy, but I kind of liked it. I'm going to be honest. I kind of liked it. I was like, okay. Toys are fun.
Not just that, but like, this is it's almost like a cultural difference, right? Like, you've got this guy from a world, he's got different lingo that he didn't even understand the language when he got here, so he's probably using it in a way that he's familiar with from back home, which there would be an understanding here. That happens between languages and cultures all the time. So I kind of wrote it off as that, but I was a little bit in Troy's boat where it's just like, okay, toys are precious. Here we go.
I have a feeling if he said that in his world, they'd be like, that's messed up, man. Even here, we throw away toys very commonly. Toys break all the time. Okay. Hey, we're moving past it. Okay, you guys gotta help me out. Some stuff happens with like Lemmings. Lemmings goes to this crime scene. Mm-hmm. He also kills a guy. I have no idea why, if it was just to introduce Lemmings or if they were involved in the Polka murder case.
I have no idea why he showed up here.
No, he showed up here because he was sent. So the older brother. Okay, no, this is the oldest nephew. That's what it is.
Right.
Oldest nephew. This guy has his own elite squad. Lemmings is a part of it, and this guy is sending Lemmings to deal with the remnants of the group that was run by the guy who killed Misaki's parents, right? Because Misaki's parents ran a steel company, and this guy was an assassin for yeah, I know this. It's hard to keep all the pieces in the right place.
I'm honestly impressed. I'm just keep going.
This guy was he was an assassin for Big Boob Hentai Lady, and
Troy, I thought you took notes.
he got out of control. He started enjoying killing too much. Went on a killing spree. Basically, killed Misaki's parents. Misaki later killed him. These guys wanted revenge on her for killing him. Lemmings was sent to clean up all of them because of the guy losing control. That's basically what it was. It was a hit. Lemmings was there to clean up.
But he does okay. So another big thing is that Misaki left a footprint behind. That's going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
We see a guy who had been introduced in the first episode just really quickly, like walking by with a darker haired and skinned guy.
Mm-hmm.
Look like a beautiful couple to me, but apparently they're not. He's at the bar with Clarissa and but she's not there. And he's like, I want to see Clarissa, but she's with her girlfriends and having
she's in a different anime,
very
right
different
now.
genre. And then he gets a call from that other guy, and they go to this crime scene. We find out they are cops. And so the blonde one's name is Tsubaki, and he has 6 earrings, 6 different piercings in his ears. And the other guy's name is Arase, and he has a tiger tattoo on his back, and he's a jerk. I'm going to go on a rant, so you guys go ahead and start. Tsubaki and Arase, what do you think of the cops?
I think the intrigue surrounding Tsubaki. Yeah. I think the intrigue surrounding Tsubaki and the inner workings of what's going on with the police station and the different forces is interesting. However, Arase, they set him up to be this bad guy cop, or at least the main antagonist, and then he just disappears. He shows up, but he doesn't talk. He doesn't provide anything to the story. He just is there because he's Tsubaki's partner. But I like Tsubaki because he's doing the investigative thing, and he seems to be doing it for good reasons. He's just not there. I don't know. It's they're kind of bad cop when they need to be, but it seems like they've got good ends. I don't know. They're kind of confusing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick side tangent. Did a robot just drive by your?
It didn't sound like it.
There was no extra sound on my end, so it must have been my equipment or the internet.
Cool. All right, Jeremy, go for it.
So I'm not super fond of Arase, but he even says it himself that he is the stick to the poisoned carrot that the other guy is supposed to be, right? So all he is the muscle. Now he's got potential to have some kind of an interesting story in his background, but they certainly haven't done anything with it yet. As far as the other guy, I like him. I like his story. I like his approach. He's got a very independent, almost private eye approach to things, which is interesting. But like you said, Jason, he's really intertwined with a lot of things that are going on. There's some mystery surrounding him and the police department. We do not know exactly how corrupt and who is corrupt within the police. And that's part of the big mystery with him. And so whenever he behaves in a way that maybe doesn't fit with what a properly functioning police organization you'd see, I kind of chalk it up to, their standards are very low because there's corruption in there. There's probably a lot of corruption in there. And so he's doing what he needs to get things done. Apparently, he even got kicked out of internal affairs because of some of the investigation work he was doing there. So he's very much on the edge of the police department, playing only as loosely as possible by the rules in order to accomplish what he needs to. And they're dealing with some absolute, like you said, these people they must be supernatural. They certainly seem like they're supernatural, even if these guys deny it. So to me, it's like almost a Warehouse 13 sort of SCP. Is that kind of a scenario where these guys are guarding inhuman, monstrous things that they're still trying to figure out the rules for. They're playing with fire, and they literally the firebug, and they have no idea if their approach is going to work, if they can restrain or stop these things. I see them as more desperate than anything else. So I kind of like them in that sense.
That was a beautiful pitch for two cops I never saw. These are the worst policemen I have ever seen in fiction. Tsubaki, the fast talker, gets info from anyone, never gets anyone to talk to him or give him info about anything. And Arase, the muscle, never wins a single fight or even really punches anyone.
He headbutted those guys at the beginning.
Every time they're on the screen, I'm like, stop it. You're not doing anything. You're slowing the story down. You're not helping. They have caught one criminal who turned himself in.
Well, they
And
did
then
have
escapes.
a list of other troublemakers that they had caught before the show.
The assassins are running wild in the city. They're not bothered by the cops at all. And
That's
we
true.
have to watch these two schmucks go through the motions over and over. They have I'm guessing, I didn't count, 6 meetings. Like, oh, here's the next investigation. You still haven't found anyone. You don't know who Firebug is. You don't need to stop and talk about the next guy. Finish a case. Oh, so mad. And then Phantom Solitaire escapes literally in front of them, and they get promoted to a citywide manhunt so that they get to lead. And I'm like, why? They have done nothing. They should be consultants in the back because they have the case files on these guys. They are terrible at their jobs.
What if they're the best that are available?
I'm fine with bad cops. We don't need to spend half the anime with them.
That's a really good point. I
They're
agree.
not
That's
solving
fair.
mysteries. I thought they were going to be like a major threat. Like, oh my god, when they're trying to battle these other assassins, when these cops get involved, and now it's a 3-way battle.
Yeah.
They don't.
No, they are taken down immediately. I was really disappointed with that. When that first fight happened and Lemmings showed up and fought them inside of that nightclub, I remember when that episode started, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome because we've got 3 parties here, and I don't know where the allegiances will fall. And it really didn't wind up being that way at all.
There is a scene where Tsubaki, who I liked a little bit more. I like that Tsubaki was like this talker, and I'm like, okay, Tsubaki. He goes to Clarissa, and he's like, I know that you know about the symbol and have leaked that information to someone. And we have to watch this conversation plays out where she's trying to deny it and he's pumping her for information. But we already know in the story that's not the case. It's the magically possessed pencil that sent the symbol. So the fact we're watching this conversation is mindless. I was
It's
so
a
mad.
waste of time.
I don't know. I was okay with that aspect. Like, I think I see the irony and I think it's funny, but it didn't bother me just because these characters have their own perspectives. And sometimes seeing them try to figure out something you already know is also entertaining. And it was that way for me. I didn't have a problem with that.
If they were like the main characters and like they were
something was at stake, whether or not you figured it out.
Something
I could see
that'd be more palatable, and maybe they're being set up for something big in the future, like they're gonna be a big player. But for these 12 episodes, it was frustration. It built up every time because I was like, okay, oh, he's cornered them in this alley, and one kick and they're past him. Okay, oh, but he got him at the bar, and he's been defeated by the bandage guy, And they're having a meeting again about the next criminal. They're not even talking about, hey, we just fought Lemmings in this bar.
Yeah.
Clarissa, why is Lemmings in your bar? We're going to talk about this. They're just like, all right, guys, we got to talk about Firebug now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're at the next arc.
My rant is over. Yeah. So that they are called in to investigate. And we see them have a meeting about all the troublemakers that are on the loose, except for the one that they caught, who turned himself in. Baka gets put into his shark. And then we do see Corpse God and Misaki get confronted by RSA, but only because the drone was above them. He has beef with Takumi from a previous case, and so when he saw the drone, he grabs it. And Takumi's trying to cover and like even calling him on the phone and like, hey, these are like my role playing buddies or my video game buddies. Please don't mess with them. Meanwhile, Corpse God's like, that's my friend. He's a hacker.
Yeah.
To the point where then they end up escaping from him, going to the bar where Tsubaki is trying to get information from Clarissa by drinking and partying. I'm fine with that. Cop stuff. That's very, I'm in the place where the information's coming through. Corpse God and Misaki run there. And in this segment is also the Takumi, hey, I rat out my friends, and Corpse God being like, that's cool. When Corpse God is confronted by the cops at the bar, he shuts off the power and then uses his, we haven't even talked about the eyes. What are they called?
Yeah, the evil eye.
Evil eye,
Yeah,
so he can see spirits. He uses his evil eyes, which is helping him guide him out of the building. But then Lemmings shows up. Guys, I don't have him on the list, but Jeremy, you said he's one of your favorites. Your thoughts on Lemmings, because we don't agree.
I like Lemmings because of the mystery that he presents. I think that it's going to be really interesting to find out where he comes from. At least I hope that's the case. Now, there's a chance that he's just a regular person that's been experimented on or something, and he's wearing the bandages to hide all of the deformations and burning and whatnot. But I kind of hope that he's also a native of the same world that the Corpse God comes from. Probably isn't, because he would have recognized him. I thought maybe he's Calamity Crusher, even, which would be really fascinating. But his reaction to Polka, or the Corpse God, is just doesn't seem right. He doesn't seem to recognize him. Maybe he's been brainwashed. I don't know. But that's one of the reasons I like him, is that he creates a massive mystery of, more than anything else. I don't actually care about a lot of the other mysteries as much as I care about this one. Like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Because this is not human. This is not, I don't even think it's robot. It's beyond anything natural. And that's really fascinating to me.
My first thought after seeing Grandpa Dad slide over the picture of the prosthetics, that this guy's just a robot or a cyborg, or Steve Rogers underneath, who knows.
Could be.
All right. I don't have much to say on him because there wasn't much to him. He's just this looming threat in the background that we find out is hired by the bad guy sometimes. And he just does what he's told. It's like he is a threat that just exists for the writers to do what they want with him. I don't know.
I think that
he was cool
they're
in
all
his
that
scenes.
way, though, aren't they? Like, isn't that what Firebug is too? And
at this point, kind of, because we don't know much about. Yeah, I guess both Lemmings and Firebug we don't know much about.
My bigger issue with Lemmings isn't actually about Lemmings. He's perfectly fine as a question mark that the series is putting out there. And actually, him and Firebug fall into the same thing for me, in that cool question marks. When are we going to start getting answers? 12 episodes in. You've been putting out a lot of question marks, and even when I thought you were telling me the answer about Firebug, which I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're already getting answers about Firebug. That's some pretty good story progress.
You mean like Zappy Gloves?
Yeah, then it ended up being Zappy Gloves, and they're like, oh, actually, he's a fake. We're never telling you about Firebug. And I guess it's not a big issue because again we're halfway through an actual season. It just feels like 12 episodes is a long time to bring up a lot of question marks and not start revealing some of them.
Have you never watched Lost?
I have watched Lost.
I know.
And you know what Lost did every season was provide answers that asked more questions. And that's absolutely fine. That's baiting the hook and then drawing you in. But there was always an answer at the end of every season of Lost. Always.
I remember watching the whole thing, and the answers weren't always satisfying.
They weren't satisfying, but there were answers. Hey, what's in the
That's
hatch?
not good enough.
Just,
bad answers are worse than no answers.
What's in the hatch? Hey, it's just a stupid guy in a stupid room. Hey, what are the others? They're just a bunch of stupid people on the stupid island who also don't know what's going on. What the heck is the smoke fog? It's just a defense system. Don't worry about it. Yeah, the the answers suck. But to say that I had that issue with Lost. People are like, it never gave answers. It gave answers. The answers sucked all the time. And then as soon as you got the answers, you're like, okay, but why is there a room and a guy?
Then there was like 4 more questions.
Right. But that's a strategy and a storytelling method that to just ask questions and then be like, I don't know. Maybe someday we'll find out.
Well,
just the pacing. It's 12 episodes without a single answer about Firebug or Lemmings or really anything that's going on.
That's fair, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like a really strong resistance to that. I just want to argue that, and I think it's because I know that there's 12 more episodes, so I'm okay.
It's a week.
It.
It's a week. It's a weak issue to push on it. And again, I can't make it even my main topic because you're right. They could answer it the next episode.
I mean, if they do and they wind up giving like answers to everything, then essentially you wind up with like a super satisfying second half of the season. If they don't, well then, I'm right there with you. That's horrible. But it could be really good. We'll have to see for that one.
You don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Cause I have to base. I felt like at 12 episodes, and they were kind of about to reveal Firebug, right?
Yeah.
At the end, so not a strong leg to stand, dog. I just felt like 12 episodes is a long time to not feel something back.
My biggest fear is that there won't be consequences for the exposing himself that he did. And okay, for the
phrasing.
Yeah.
This is not the hentai.
No, it's not that part. The exposing of the hands, the incorporeal hands. I'm afraid that when the next season starts, it'll like finish that arc and then go back to we live in an apartment. Nothing happened.
They fight Lemmings. He actually he beats RSA. He kidnaps Masaki. He's clearly there to get Masaki. And Corpse God is like, oh, I shouldn't save her, but I'm gonna because I'm a super good guy. And he tries, but Lemmings is so powerful he's able to like break through the skeleton arms and jump past them and outrace them. Eventually, Misaki tells him something, and she's like, okay, well, that's all we needed to talk about. And then she tries to bite him, but she can't. But she had been sucking on a fork, so she stabs him with the fork. And because she has paralytic saliva, he's slightly slowed down.
I guess that would indicate that he's partially organic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Lemmings goes and reports to his boss, who is
the oldest nephew.
Or is it his brother?
No, it's the oldest nephew. His brother is already crossed out on the list, and it's from the tier above.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So dad got freaky at an old age.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Okay, so then he's like, hey, guys, to live in peace, I got to start a business. And so he comes up with the fortune-telling business. Thanks to the help of a pencil who he has put the spirit of someone that died in the Yakuza building in. And it very much seemed like to me like it was like a con man, because he's like, don't worry, kid, I got you. We're going to be able to con all these suckers with some fake fortunes. Yeah. And it turns out to be an internal affairs scum.
Yes. He was pulling really strong, like Mob Psycho
Right?
vibes.
Yeah.
That little,
Yeah.
yeah.
But this works well. They make a lot of money doing this. People like being suckered. Oh, and then his youngest niece and nephew come to visit him, wanting to have their fortunes read, but really this is just a way to invite him home, because he had told everyone, hey, I'm Poka, I'm on a journey of self-discovery and I won't be home for a while.
Postcards.
But then they found out he's living in Shinjuku. That's correct. And at first it's really confrontational and mean, but then he suddenly hugs them and promises he'll take care of them. But again, this is him promising a spirit who's behind them asking for help. Oh, and we learned Poka's from a very rich, influential family. And yeah. Oh, and then we see the older nephew. His name is Takuru, and he comes up to the twins. He's like, "You guys be careful.
Did you want to wind up like your older sister?
Yeah.
I think it was an older sister.
Who's the evil, not the mad spirit who's following them.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know for sure if the nephew Takuru is involved with Poka's death or not? Do we know for sure he's not?
Still wondering.
Okay. They go to the house, and he brings Misaki as his both bodyguard and a guest. And we find out she's actually from an influential family as well, even though obviously they've been murdered. And everyone gathers for dinner, and we meet all these characters. And the one we have to talk about is Sayo. And this is a bit of a trap for my co-host, because why are we talking about Sayo? Because the show said we had to. So, thoughts on Sayo?
I don't know why she's there, honestly. I mean, besides setting up some interesting shower scenes.
Yeah, that was it.
When she became a main character, joining like the main cast, I was like, really? Really? The one joke character is now main cast. Okay, fine. Yeah, whatever.
Let's go. Let's do this.
However, I do think her recurring joke of "just get me the shark merchandise" is it made me laugh. I did like it.
I genuinely wonder if there's more to her. Just because there were two silhouettes defending the grandpa, and I think she's the other one. So I know that the anime has so far portrayed her as essentially just completely obsessed, worthless, and a neat. But I kind of wonder if she was that other silhouette that was, a fully capable fighter, and there's more to her than meets the eye.
She is technically considered a bodyguard of a bedroom. That's her role.
And she defends it with her rabid sharks that she keeps around.
That's right. Both of them.
The head of the family and Poka's dad actually joins the dinner, and he invites Corpse God to come talk to him. And after they talk for a few minutes, he's like, "Okay, who are you really, and what happened to Poka?" Like literally pulling out a sword. And Corpse God's like, "I will tell you, but I sense that the twins are in danger, so I'm gonna go save them right now." And a fire has started at the main house, and the twins' bodyguard has pulled them away, but it turns out he's actually Firebug. He's not, but he's an assassin sent to kill them. Misaki saves them and fights this guy, but they're still all trapped by the flames, and then Corpse God comes in and saves them, and he was doing this for the spirit. We also get a flashback of that spirit who had accidentally uncovered the assassination plot one night and had been murdered because of it, and her last regret is that no one knew that the twins were in danger because they were the target the whole time.
Well, and yeah, they weren't, but might as well have been. The target was just the grandpa. Get rid of the grandpa and get rid of the entire family so that this other guy who's an unknown relative would be able to take control.
During this time, our wonderful cops sit down and have a Hannibal Lecter style conversation with the one criminal they've ever caught, Phantom Solitaire, whose real name is Tenma. So you can call him either or.
He is not the only one they've ever caught.
He is too.
No, he isn't. You remember at the very intro when they showed us, like, these are all the troublemakers? There were like 7 or 8 of them listed, and the first 4 were already captured. Phantom Solitaire was one of those. They're
matter.
off-screen captures.
But they also don't say that these guys captured them, but that they are in custody.
Well, their division captured them.
Whatever. What do you guys think about Tenma, the Phantom Solitaire?
Jeremy, since you like him so much, I'll let you go first.
I love this guy. He's so out of his depth. Like, when we're first introduced to him, he comes off as like this know-it-all. Okay, it's the same thing as what was in Pluto, where you have this character that's kind of a throwback to Silence of the Lamb, right? Where you've got the criminal who knows everything because he's the baddest of the bad and the smartest of the smart. And that's what you think Phantom Solitaire is. And then as soon as he gets out, you start to get his thoughts. And his thoughts are always in complete contradiction with everything he's doing. He is constantly saying, "Oh, didn't see that coming. Because this is awesome." Or, "I guess I better go now. I should probably run too." You know, like, everything that he's doing is a complete con. There is no magic in it. And this is even proven by his own statement that the whole reason that he's doing all of these criminal activities is to try and get the attention of real mages, because he really believes magic exists, and he really, really wants to be an apprentice to somebody, basically. He's like, this is my way to prove that I deserve an apprenticeship. And just seeing the silliness, the panic, the craziness of the character, and the fact that he's a thrill seeker is what they call him, and he's just constantly pulling his solutions out of his butt. Like, how does he get, like, where do these balloons come from? Smoke bombs I get, but just so many crazy things. So I really like this guy. He's very, very funny. His unpredictability is his strongest suit, I think.
Isn't?
I liked him. He's fun. But again, this is just, it's such a tonal issue with the anime, because we'll go from one scene where the main characters are having a really serious discussion, and then we cut over to Tenma, and he's just doing something weird on the television that he's telling people that he's going to give them millions of dollars if they can give him information. And he's a fun character, but it's just, I don't know if this anime wants me to be having fun, if it wants me to be in suspense, if it wants me to... Never mind, I'll keep that to myself. It's like, so yeah, I'm not sure if he's a good fit for, well, of course he is, because the anime's all over the place. He's fun. In every scene he's in, he steals it. So that's what I think about him.
I kind of also see him as a like turnabout's fair play.
Now we got other people talking over.
Yes. So Misaki is a great example of another character in this anime that a lot of times plays for laughs. So I think it's strong enough of a tone in this one that it goes okay.
Misaki had one of my biggest laughs, and it's where she finds out she has paralytic saliva and she instantly bites corpse god.
Yes. Which
is the last thing you would expect. That was a really good, like, oh, gotcha. You weren't expecting that. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Phantom Solitaire is also my favorite character. He steals the scenes and was a joy to watch. He has some of my favorite lines. He has my favorite scene. I found him delightful and was wishing the anime was about him. Also, he has one of the changes in the OP. After he escapes, where his face was, now it's just a doll with his face drawn on it, with a wig in the jail cell. It changes to him.
That's all. I need to pay more attention to the OPs in the second half. They're probably going to do more fun stuff with them.
Yeah, so he gives them some information on Firebug, but really he's more interested in the fact about the skeletons, because that again intrigues him that maybe there's that real magic, like Jeremy was talking about. So this is going to prompt him to escape here soon. Then Corpse God defeats Firebug, and Lemming shows up and helps defeat him. And this Firebug is arrested by the cops, but it is revealed that he is a copycat, and the real Firebug sets him on fire while he's in the police car, with a kind of a creepy scene with all the cops' faces turning towards him and talking about how there's a bug in the program.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we're a comedy, we're ecchi, and now we're horror. It's like what is going on?
Give me that roller coaster.
So after all of this happens, Corpse God tells the head of the household, Rosen, the truth about everything. At first, he's upset with Misaki, but Poka, in his shark form, is like, "No, leave her alone. I'm in love with her, Papa."
Yeah.
Basically. And this is all very classic Poka, who has an albino alligator that he refused to have killed and had made his pet, which lives in a cage in a basement.
Yeah, that
Sure, it's loving that.
kind of sucks. That poor alligator. Good job, Polka.
They talk with the twins, who thank them for saving them. We do get Misaki actually asking the real Poka for forgiveness for his murder. Then Tenma escapes from prison, and then we get the reveal of how he turned himself in. He was like, "Hey, yeah, I just did this to find real magic," and now he's out again because he heard about real magic. And then Corpse God buys an old classic vintage AM radio to listen to the news, and all over the news, they're talking about the news about Tenma's escape, which hasn't been revealed yet. And so the cops are like, "What is going on?" Well, Tenma bought airtime, and he's the one announcing. He's like, "It's actually me, and in 1 week I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm back. I'm doing shows again." And then he goes and he meets with Firebug, who we get to see two. There's two people being Firebug. There's a young girl in a raincoat, and then an older man with an umbrella. They both say fire safety on them. Three?
Yeah, there's
Confirmed?
two girls. One of them carries an umbrella, and one of them wears a raincoat.
I thought that was the same girl. They just changed to a raincoat.
I don't think so. Could be wrong though.
Anyway, he meets with the older one. In the English dub, he has a really stuttered way of talking, especially like when he gets to the last word. He would like pause for way too long and then say like the last word of a sentence. It was a cool effect of making him seem otherworldly in the dub.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a robotic tone to his voice and a stinted way of speaking in the sub too.
Okay. Firebug attacks Tenma, who uses his magic playing cards, which are definitely not magic, but
they're
so magic. And basically convinces them like, "Look, you do what you want to do, and I'll just kind of like tag along, and we'll work towards the same goal." And Firebug's like, "Well, I guess I just won't murder you yet."
Yeah.
And that's about as close as they get.
I loved the exchange just because of how much nonsense that Phantom Solitaire was spouting. Like, it was non-stop nonsense. Every time Firebug would call him on his garbage, he would just change it up and do nonsense a different direction, and I loved it.
He even goes like, "Yep, I was just making all of that up. Good on you for calling it out and noticing that was all a lie."
And you never see characters actually do that. It's really funny. I liked him a lot.
There is a conversation about dragons and how dragons were real in Corpse God's world and not now that they're just fiction in our world.
One of the dragons was Malfi, the homewrecker dragon.
My favorite was Dragon Emperor Worm, which is a Dune reference. I like that one.
Yeah. That's good.
And then Sayo shows up. She's moving in. So because all her shark stuff and her room burned down,
Yeah, go live with him. I don't know.
It seemed that like this is a power play by Rosen, not in a bad way,
Yeah.
but in like I need to get my people in that building because my son is at stake here, and I need to get involved in this. So yeah, she's there for like whatever, but it definitely seemed like Rosen was doing a power play, and we learned he has set up bodyguards now around the place, and she comes with her own bodyguard, Xiao Yu. Your guys' thoughts on him?
He's
He's
I don't know.
19.
We definitely needed another main character right
That's
now.
what I was actually just about to make that complaint, that I'm like, I've got so many characters I'm following along. It's like I don't have the attention span for this character. Like, I think he would have been fine if he was just basically made to Sayo. But no, he's got to have his own backstory, and he's got his own chip on his shoulder to prove his worth, even though the guy he wants to prove his worth to has just told him, protect these people, not go try and attack them. Like, I don't know. I didn't like this character. He just seemed inserted where there could have been better story.
I kind of liked it. I liked how he was essentially questioning everything, and he's got the super hearing, I guess. And so he's like listening in on their conversations and trying to make sense of it. And I thought it led to some really funny moments of how he would interpret those things. Like, oh, they must be playing a tabletop role-playing game. Why are they talking about the magic systems in a video game again? Are they rolling dice? You know, like I enjoyed it for that. I think that to me was his major contribution. I was really like confused at first when he was introduced because I thought he was a girl and I thought those were tights. And then later I was like, oh, those are his legs. Oh, okay, I get it now. And so then when they developed him in that direction, I thought, okay, this is really cool because now we get a cyborg. You know, maybe he's not the first cyborg, but he's the first one that we know for sure is. And so I thought that was pretty cool. His abilities are kind of weird. Like, even as a cyborg, how'd your fingers get that long? But it's not like we haven't seen similar in other anime, so I can't nitpick that too much. But yeah, I liked what he brought to the story. I liked that he actually got more background and development than some of the other characters in that building. Like, and he had more personality too. I thought. But he was so late to come to the group, and I don't know. We'll see what they do with him.
Other than, hey, again, I don't need another main character. I agree with Jason there. He just feels so messy because he's like, you go there and you protect my grandson, but I also hate your grandson, but I want to prove that the fake grandson is actually a bad guy so I can kill him. And it's like that's just a lot. That's a lot in episode 8 that we're getting this.
Of 24.
Of 24.
It's like if you go to Fate, right? Fate is 24 episodes.
I know.
Your development of different things, they just start by episode 8.
You're right, but we haven't taken the time on the other characters yet for me to feel like we're ready for the next character.
That's fair.
Sasaki got a 5-minute backstory flashback, and now it's suddenly like, hey, I feel really bad and I want someone to punish me for what I've done. But we're told that by a random character when they're naked in a shower, and like it's never shown. It's never we're not exploring that. It's just boom, 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 and they're like, okay, but actually, what we want to spend time with is this kid with cyborg parts. And don't you guys want to talk about this now?
Well, I think by her character design, you know what Mikasa is, or Misaki is in there for. Like, you know what she's in the anime for. All the women in this, well, maybe not all, but the main women in this have the same exact body design. Like, they're all massive. This anime knows what it wants to do with the girls.
Well, he's better than the cops. I'll give him that. Speaking of, the cops go to Poco's family's house.
You just
And-
can't stand these cops.
No, you can't.
They go to their house. They question the uncle, and he's like, "F you, get off my property." And they're like, "Okay, sir."
Well, they are legally obliged to.
Yeah. And they're like, "Hey, I saw a picture of that kid that we saw at the bar the other night. He's part of this family." Like, you didn't already know that? You went and talked to this
Yeah.
family and had never. Okay.
That's a good point.
All right. So now they know that Poca is part of the family. They're about to crack this thing wide open.
Any minute.
We get the scene of Xiao Yu listening in, like you said, and he's like, "Are they playing a video game, role playing? What's going on?" I can't even remember what they're talking about at this point.
They were talking about
the
the
dragons.
magic and dragons.
No,
yeah.
dragons is before. Guys, there's like 6 sentences in my notes about this whole episode. it just happened. The episode's over. Then the cops come and they're like, "Hey, we want our fortunes told." They come to Poca and Takumi has to hide behind a desk, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's read your fortune." And the fast talking cop's like, "Okay, he knows about this case. He's getting information out of him." And then the pencil draws a symbol, and the cop Tsubaki gets really upset and storms out. And his partner's like, "What was that about?" And he's like, "I will tell you later." There is a scene in this anime where Arase asks Tsubaki what just happened, and Tsubaki says, "We will talk about it in another scene."
You make it sound so terrible.
Yeah.
I really wanted to throw things.
That's the scene where he says, "I'm supposed to be the stick and
The
you're
poison-
the carrot."
The
You know,
poison carrot. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a fantastic line.
I did like the line. It just didn't fit the characters or anything they've done at this point.
Well, it kind of did. I mean, the blonde guy is always being the talker, and the other guy just stands there glowering at everybody.
Yeah, and he's got a tiger tattoo on his back, and
He's got a stick. Like, he swung a stick at Lemmings, so he has.
He does have a literal stick. Oh, never mind. The writing's spot on.
See? So many
You were
layers.
wrong this whole time.
That's right.
All right. Then we see Firebug attacking a Yakuza hideout, and Tenma uses it to steal a piece of paper from them, and it has the symbol on it.
Human
so he's
skin.
It's demon skin?
Human.
Well, he guessed that. I don't think anyone confirmed it, did they?
No, but if Tenma guesses it, we're just going to go with it.
Okay. I was thinking it was something otherworldly. Then we get Tsubaki talking to Clarissa. "What is the symbol? Why did you tell people?" And she's like, I don't know why this scene is happening. Literally what she said, I'm sure. That's what I wrote down.
I could think of other places I would rather be right now, is what she's saying.
I have a hot tub in my bedroom, I'll have you know. And my girlfriend's just sitting there all day.
Yes.
I
Okay,
wear
that's really dumb.
I wear my monocle into the hot tub sometimes. I know, Jason, we need to go. I'm sorry. Tenma visits the grocer, which is a character I really enjoyed. This is basically a guy who sells everything from jail, and it's so powerful that he's allowed to run his store from jail because it's so useful to everything and everyone. So he's just freely operating criminally, and even our cops know about it. Just so we're clear, they mentioned that he had to buy from the grocer whose cell was 4 down from Phantom Solitaires when they visited him. Anyway, great cops, best cops ever.
That's why I see this more as an SCP thing, where, like, how does the grocer have all of the information? Certainly there's no way that he's bartering for all of the information. So there's got to be some supernatural way that he's getting it. Even just the way that he speaks, where he's like, "we," and, you know, and his eyes look in 2 different directions, and they're 2 different sized pupil. It's not even just heterochromia. It's like there's more than one person inside of there. So there, I don't know. I think there's something inhuman, monstrous even, about the grocer and many other characters.
You seem
You just don't
perfectly-
understand, Troy.
No,
right.
I really like the grocer. The
Right.
grocer, I was making fun of the cops. The grocer, the character, I thought was great. His whole thing about like, I'll give you this information for this much money because that's how valuable it is to you. If anyone else came and asked me, I'll do it for like 3 cents. I don't even care. But because they wouldn't know what to do with the information, but you do, and it's like your life's ambition to get this information. That was awesome. That was like a really cool, slightly paranormal underworld information broker thing to do. I was into that. And when he just gave Tenma candy bars, and Tenma's like eating them because I'm just gonna take these because they are tasty, but it's not what I want.
Yeah, well, my point in regards to the cops is when you're dealing with an entity that's that powerful, you probably are not the one in control. It's probably in that cell because it's wants to be in the cell or it's allowing you to put it in the cell. So there's only so much that the cops can be expected to have control over an entity like that.
Then they don't need to be in the anime.
But they do. It's like
You can
it's like
just say the cops
guards.
can't stop them. You don't have to show me ineffective cops.
I don't know.
2 less characters we have to worry about.
I agree with you. They wouldn't need as much airtime. Yeah, they probably wouldn't need to be named characters.
I've made my
Maybe.
issues clear. I'll let it go. There's a scene that kind of ends this episode, and then we jump back a little bit, and then come back forward again. So I'm going to put them in chronological order, which is basically that scene of him talking to the grocer. And what's this about? He's like, I can tell you this means a sword. And so I do clearly showing he does know what's going on, but then arguing that like you'd have to pay astronomical amounts to get this information from me because that's how much money it'd be worth to you. Based on I can assess how much money you can make an entire lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And Tenma's like, wow, well, I don't want to pay for it then. I want to earn the information. So he instead buys blimps that he puts the symbol on and then flies to the city. And Tenma has the best line of this entire anime when he goes, blimps in today's economy? And I thought that was amazing. That was a great line. The whole point is though he gets assassinated, which looks like the nephew's bodyguards to me. They're wearing masks, but the spiky green hair and stuff. They assassinate him to hide this symbol, but it's a decoy, and then goes on TV. See, there's got to be a conspiracy. They literally just tried to kill me for putting the symbol out in the open. So if anyone knows, send me information on YouTube. Sure. There's something that happens here, and it happens again at the very end of the 12 episodes, where there's someone talking. It looks like online, where they're like, it's the symbol. We need to get involved in this. We need to hide this. And we're never shown who it is. That I thought was that was probably the most intriguing mystery. I don't really care about lemmings or any of the other stuff, but there is some connection to the old world. There's someone here that knows about what's going on, and there is this giant conspiracy involved in the whole world. That I thought that was really cool, and using this as to show us and set it up was well done.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, your thoughts? Not a one.
Done? Nope.
What happens next? Assassinated. Yeah, I said that.
What's weird is that when he gets assassinated, it really looks like he was assassinated. Like there's blood, there's a human hand.
He was reading a manga at the moment he was assassinated, but it was all a decoy.
Yeah, and that's what I find it really hard to believe that he doesn't use any kind of magic at all.
It's an illusion.
Really weird. Yeah, baloney.
All right. Then we get to everyone's favorite scene where Sayo learns the truth because she heard them talking about the old kingdom. Oh, so the symbol means the old empire that Corpse God had come from, that had fallen. It was his home, and it'd be like if you go to another world and someone was using if you're an American, you're using the American flag to represent Nazis instead, and you'd be like, whoa, that's messed up.
What are you doing?
So that's his response, right? And so he makes a comment in front of Sayo, and she's like, okay, what's going on? So they tell her the truth. So she decides she's gonna go take the stuffed shark into the shower.
Well, before that, she's really upset that she doesn't get to be the soul in the shark.
Nope, that has not happened yet.
Are you
That
sure?
happens later.
Cut me off. Yeah, it's because she takes the
that's
stuff
right.
thing
She
into the
doesn't
shower
know
not
he's
knowing, and when they
in
come
there.
back, they're like,
you're right.
you showered in front of the shark. You need to know something about the shark.
Yeah, that's right.
And then she's like, I demand to be in a shark immediately.
She's like, he can have my body.
Anyway, so she gets into the shower and then is confronted by a naked Misaki who brought her crowbar though.
And
is
wears her
like,
glasses in the shower.
Yeah, well.
Well, and also what's interesting, or
what else is interesting about this scene?
Earlier, we got multiple comments that both Corpse God and Misaki are cold to the touch because they're corpses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this scene makes multiple double not sense because wouldn't that, I don't know, freak someone out?
Unless it was really hot water.
Or you're really into sharks.
Cold-blooded?
Sharks should be slippery and cold, I guess.
Look, so this is the scene where we find out that Misaki wants to be punished, and she's feeling bad about having committed the murder. She's wanting someone to hold her accountable, and
Sayo
like,
misunderstands what punished means.
Right? No, Sayo's like, I actually forgive you. It's not a thing. And then it's heavily
Trying to be lower
implied.
than PG-13 here.
I know.
It's heavily implied they have a good time together with a shark watching.
Yes.
When this scene happens, though, my reaction was, have they talked once
Right.
in this entire anime?
No.
They jumped into bed so fast. There wasn't even like flirting.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I agree 100%. This was completely out of place. Made no sense whatsoever. It was awkward and uncomfortable for that reason. Like, this was nothing but fan service.
Right. This was straight up like a porn. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
I was really happy that
delivery
Tanya was engrossed in what she was watching over there because I was like, come on, finish, go, finish the scene, finish the scene.
I mean, it's not like they got on the ground and started scissoring. I mean, they just...
Right. What? Okay, PG-13.
Crafts.
It's part of paper mache crafts, right?
It is implied, but the setup for it. Did you guys ever watch James Gunn's old YouTube videos, PG porn, where it'd be all the setup and then some random joke would happen and no sex actually would happen? That's what this felt like. It's all the bad setup and no payoff, and we just move on to the next scene. Except for now, Misaki spends a lot of time hugging onto Sayo and holding onto her the rest of the scene.
Yeah, which implies that it wasn't a failure. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And we get a quick flashback of them even talking about, you said shark movies were cool, so I'm in love.
Yeah. It just...
Okay. Okay. Here's a complaint. So they're talking to Corpse God about the symbol, and they're like, well, aren't the spirits you're using coming from the other world? And he's like, yeah, that's actually technically true, which is weird how easily I'm able to summon them. I'm surprised. And they're like, well, can't you talk to some of the spirits from your world about that symbol? And he's like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, you really should. He's like, yeah, I should. Let's search about it on the internet. Yeah, we'll just search about it on the internet.
And I didn't know until this scene that he was pulling spirits from his world. Neither. That's the first I heard of it.
Because this entire setup has been he's using the spirits that are trapped here.
Right.
Like especially in this Yakuza building.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the implication is that he's able to talk to former people he knew from the other world. What bothers me is that they come up with this plan and everyone seems in agreement on it, and then they just drop it, and they're like, "Okay, Takumi, hack into the police, and we'll see what they know." And they don't bring this up again. I think he thinks about it one more time, but I thought they had a plan.
No, in the sub, it was pretty clear that he wasn't like he had his own personal hurdles that were not going to allow him to do that. He would not talk to them. So
That's right. No, they did that in the dub as well. Like he was saying,
I thought he said, "Okay, I will do it," but
he says I should, but I can't because of the hurt feelings.
All right.
Yeah, which is a dumb reason. I agree with you right there completely. But it's a character flaw. So
then we get Tsubaki having to talk to his boss, the superior of the thing, and the boss is like trying to. I don't get the boss. He's like trying to piss him off.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
"What kind of sound will your GOG make?"
And he's acting very corrupt. He's like, "I'm clearly corrupt, and I'm trying to see if you're corrupt, and you're in charge of the next division."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know how I read this scene, but I guess we got to the end result. Sure."
What's weird is that I got the impression, based on the pen or the pencil, that this guy's not corrupt.
Right. And, going into the scene, I'm like, "Oh, he's totally corrupt, and he's trying to feel this out." And then at the end, I'm like, "Oh no,
he's not corrupt.
He's not corrupt.
He just looks scary
and was acting weird."
Yes.
Yes. Like I said, I walked away from it with like, I'm not 100% sure I know what just happened. I know what happened at the end. That we got a promotion or put in charge of this new task force, which is in charge of capturing Phantom Solitaire again.
Did he talk about cogs and sounds in the dub?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I was just wondering if they used a different analogy.
Yes. Also, the pencil. It's a pencil, not a pen.
It's a mechanical pencil. Yeah.
Mechanical pencil. His name is Hosanagi, and he was an Eternal Affairs cop who knew Tsubaki, and Tsubaki had helped him in the past, and had once given him the symbol and said, like, if you ever see the symbol, this is it. But he had died before he had been able to crack the case, and he refuses to tell Corpse God and everyone what he knows because he doesn't want them involved, even though they're clearly hurtling forward and getting involved. And he's like,
"Yeah,
look, you're on the right track, but I can't say anything. You might get involved."
It's very much like a video game, how a video game meets out little by little. Yeah. Oh, speaking of earlier, there was a question about the lady at the bar, right? With the monocle. I can't remember her name. Clarissa? Yeah.
She explains it all.
Yeah, Clarissa.
Nicely done.
There's we find out that she referred to this guy as her senpai. So she was either with Internal Affairs or prior to Internal Affairs, he trained her. That's the connection.
Right, which is why Tsubaki went to her when he saw the symbol.
That's right. I was just referring to it because I remembered that we weren't sure at the beginning what her connection was to things.
Tenma, in disguise, and that everyone sees through, goes and visits Corpse God to get his own fortune telling, and I gotta be honest, the pencil draws him the symbol, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, the pencil drew him the symbol because he added a horizontal line in the middle to the blimps so that he was using a slightly incorrect version. Okay. And so when the pencil drew it, it excluded the horizontal line, which showed that it actually knew the real image, and that shocked him.
But why did the pencil want to show him that?
Well, and that's where the Corpse God said, I wanted to correct it. So I don't even think it was the pencil that wanted to do it, but Corpse God asked him to do it.
And he knows this is Phantom Solitaire.
Yeah. That's why he gave it to him.
Right. But why would he want Phantom Solitaire to have that?
Well, that's a good question. I think.
Okay, we keep moving.
Oh, because he asked. He asked about it. That's why.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, he asked about it. He knew it was Phantom Solitaire. The guy asked. He came for a fortune, and he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you much. But then he's like, but this really pisses me off that it's not even drawn right. So here, I'll give you that at least. This is what it should be drawn as.
Okay. All right.
That's all.
So just hey, you have a typo in this thing you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a reason.
It's
Corpse
definitely
God,
there.
It's as satisfying as Lost.
you're right. No, maybe not. It depends what
Yes.
season we're on.
Yes, exactly.
That's fair.
Corpse God mentions a girl in a wheelchair who is following him. And he's like, ooh, maybe this is real. There's no way he could have known about that. Also, we find out Firebug had just visited. We see two girls had left, and they're like, oh, one girl's like, he's so cute. And then one of those girls was wearing a rain slicker with the fire safety. And it asked the same questions. And Corpse God is like, that's interesting. Best not to do anything about it, though. I'll just stay here in my apartment and not get
I'm gonna have a great night's sleep tonight. Nothing will wake me up.
Then we get the cops all getting mad at each other. The former cops who don't like Tsubaki. One cop comes up and he's like, oh, I see your career is stalled. He's like, well, at least I got high enough to order you around. I'm like, how did you just not see that coming? You don't walk up to a superior and be like, oh, you suck. You only became my boss. Wait. Okay, and
we could have done without this scene.
Yeah.
Yes, especially when two more cop characters show up. And
You had to have seen them. You saw them at the beginning, though, right?
I did.
There was a guy in white. He had a cane, and I was like,
just...
okay, so this is the blind operative that's going to be amazing. He's not blind, but I thought he was going to be.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did. I had seen him in the past. I'm like, oh, that's going to be another character, isn't it? And then he walks up and he brought an old guy with him. Cool. Yeah, 4 cops now. These jerk cops are fighting with Tsubaki and they're yelling at RSA. And in English dub, Tsubaki goes, well, guys, why don't we just grab a ruler and see who's bigger?
Yeah, that's not in the sub. Wow.
Yep. That's bad.
Or if it is, somehow I missed it. I don't think that's in the sub.
Tenma goes to Corpse God's building's roof. And he's like super excited about it. He's like, I'm jumping on your roof. And then he's getting someone sneaks up behind him and he thinks it's Corpse God, but it's Xiao Yu who saw him coming. And he's like, I don't know who you are. Because he was all like, I knew you'd be here, Corpse God. And oh, nope, you're just a random guy and don't know what's going on.
This is why I love this guy.
Yeah, it was great. And then he starts fighting him, and then Lemmings shows up and is there to get Tenma. But Xiao Yu is like, you're working with Lemmings? And Tenma's like, yes, I am. And then Lemmings is coming after him, and Xiao Yu's like, I thought you were working together. Working together? We're all really together, right? Like, in the world.
He's so full of crap constantly.
And meanwhile, Firebug, who has written the fire message they always write before they burn someone in Corpse God's room, and Poca wakes him up to see that. Corpse God gets a call from Firebug, and he mentions something that from the other world. And Corpse God's like, oh, so you know about this. And Firebug's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So there's clearly some crossover from the other world, but Firebug doesn't actually know the whole story. That felt very lost to me. I know stuff. I actually don't know anything.
Yeah. He asked, are you a bastard child of, and then some name.
Of a name, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some group of people that goes by that name, but it's a name from his world of a person.
Right. And then, like when Corpse God was mentioning more names, and Firebug's like, no. They both get kind of confused. Anyway, those other 2 cops show up outside and they see the girl Firebug, and she's like, oh, I was looking for my dog and it ran into this building. And then there's explosions on the roof from Tenma. Corpse God decides to get involved. First, he makes what's called his temple, his palace.
Temple,
which just darkens the air and makes it magic. I don't know why.
Cold.
It basically, think of it like an expanding domain.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that's the kind of how they described it, is an area that they can expand beyond themselves, which they have total control in.
He makes a bunch of invisible hands, and then he makes them visible and tries to grab.
Tenma made them visible.
With the smoke?
with the tapioca smoke.
Oh, that's how they became visible?
Yeah.
I was
It was
wondering why.
It was a wrapping.
Yeah, but I guess the
No.
wrapping was just to make them corporeal.
The wrapping was specifically him talking about being able to fine-tune control them with mana because there's so little of it in this world, he has a better control of them.
Well, that was what he said when he created them. And they were first popping out.
We also get to see his old master hanging out with Tree Lady.
Yeah.
And her
And-
talking
Yeah.
about how much empathy
And why
he
doesn't
has.
she have clothes on?
Because this anime knows what it wants to do with the female characters.
Well, she's a tree.
No, the other one.
No, she's a... God, don't ruin it. That was so
Oh.
good. That was... I had him.
No, I knew who they are. I saw the same anime. Who are you tricking?
I don't know.
Are we done yet?
Jason.
Oh, yeah.
He liked this anime, though.
Out of all this, he only managed to capture Firebug. I think I'm the one driving him crazy. I don't usually go on the rants, and we're probably
it's
done
great.
with that.
We need an upset Troy every now and then.
Actually, I'm enjoying his rants there, especially the cops. I'm forever going to hold on to this nugget of awesome.
There you go.
We're at the end. I know it's gonna bite me back. You're gonna be like, you like these two characters? They're just like the cops. We gotta go to final reviews unless anyone has other thoughts on this wacky ending, which isn't an ending. Don't judge this as an ending. That's not fair. But
Well, did you mention that he actually, like, at the end of this, he caught Firebug?
yeah, I think I said that.
Okay, using like a maid. I don't know where the maid came from.
Yeah, you're right. That happened.
Someone he controls.
Oh, and
His
and
eminent
video
domain.
video
I
of the
guess.
hands showed up, and then we saw those things, those internet chat again of
Mhm.
oh, necromancy power is here. We need to take it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then implication of real life vampires.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they're descendants. They're like, those are our great ancestors
Yeah.
that wielded this.
I was really hoping this was the past of the fantasy world, but yeah, in the future we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. Right? That was just a personal. I love the idea of like a time loop that like maybe he's creating himself kind of thing, but whatever.
Oh, like he didn't get isekai, but he time traveled. That would
Back
be
to
neat.
his
Mhm.
real origin. Yeah. All right, but we're done. So, Jason, what do you want to review this as?
I had it higher in my head before they said this review. After talking about it on paper, it's kind of a 2, but like I really like the thought experiments that are going on. I like the different ideas that we're playing with, and I actually am interested to see where this goes. So really, this is a 3 for me.
All right, Jeremy, how about you?
Yeah, same for me. I had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely got some problems, and it's definitely like I would be so much happier if it would dump the semi hentai scenes. Like, it would be so much better. But yeah, it's a 3 for me. I enjoyed it. I want more.
The concept is cool. There's a few characters that were standouts at Soul Scenes, but this is the least.
Like Tsubaki.
This is the. Like I said, I wasn't having, other than the cops, I was having emotional reactions to the cops and a few uggs, a few groans. For the most part, I was just like, this just didn't feel good. I went through a couple episodes. I was like, something feels off. I feel like I'm not getting anything. I couldn't write it better. I'll be honest, but I just felt like the writing wasn't that great. It's only a 2 for me. I would be interested if we keep going to see what pays off and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Is this going for a long game and I need to eat my words? Happy to do so.
But as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it may be a while before we get back to this one. So
Yep.
just FYI.
Which we've done before, Moriarty and Spy Family. We've had cores broke up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our next anime is Synduality Noir. Mecha. We don't have Mecha, guys. We haven't had Mecha in a while.
Yeah. Little mecha, but they're still mecha.
Counts. If you have any thoughts on Dead Mount Deathplay, please feel free to reach out to us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast or our website, theanimebakaclub.com. Has a contact us button or leave a comment where we found the podcast. Those usually get to us. If you're not hearing from us, it's Jason's fault. All right. I think we're ready to say goodbye. Don't interrupt me.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Sayonara.